Am I overreacting? My girlfriend texted her girlfriend's group chat, basically saying that she has a crush on her boss and that she would do something about it if he wasn't her boss. My girlfriend, 45 female, is a very good-looking, successful woman. She was laid off from her job in a downsizing and changed her LinkedIn to be viewable to employers looking for prospects. A C-level leader of a massive company reached out to her and basically hired her for a high-level position without even talking to her. They are around the same age. Big positions in corporate America don't come easy, so I thought it was a little odd. Definitely plausible, but it made me curious as to what his real intentions might be, as she's told me before that professional men have made connections with her on LinkedIn, only to find out they have ulterior motives. Fast forward to her being on board for a month, and nothing sticks out with him having other intentions, so all good there. So far. My girlfriend and I were in a fight, and during us not talking for a few days, she texted her girlfriend's group chat and said this verbatim: "It's too bad that my boss is my boss. I kinda have a crush on him." I don't remember her girlfriend's response, but her text after that was, "Too bad I can't do anything about it. As they say, don't shit where you eat." As me, already wondering if he has an ulterior motive, along with her telling her girls that she has a crush on him, is obviously making me insecure and uncomfortable. I realize some crushes are innocent, but the timing, while we were fighting, and wording behind her texts shook me a bit. Knowing she's at work all day interacting with the person she has a crush on is probably going to eat away at me. Am I overreacting by taking the "too bad I can't do anything about it" and interpreting it as basically saying if he wasn't my boss I'd have sex with him? How would you deal with this situation? Scruffy says, "You're going to be paranoid every single day about her being at work. It's not worth it. I also want to note that I don't think it's a good sign if you aren't talking for multiple days." Asmodeus says, "She's literally thinking about screwing another man, and you're here on Reddit asking if you're overreacting. What's next will be an overnight business trip or conference, just an excuse to cheat." Educational Hawk replies, "Oops, budget for the trip means that I have to share a room with the boss, tee-hee. Oh, and double whoops, the only rooms left have only one king-sized bed, tee-hee." I'd probably get out of there before she just sleeps with him anyway. Have you spoken to her about this? Might be a good place to start. OP replies, "I haven't said anything yet. Been trying to digest it, and took me a minute to read into it, and wanted to see if others read or interpret it the same as I am." I think everyone else's interpretation of this situation is correct. She belongs to the streets, OP. No good woman, no good person will say this in the group chat. She's telling on herself. The mask is slipping. She is not relationship material for you. Maybe she's relationship material for someone else, but you don't have to stick around waiting for the inevitable to happen. I would hope anyone agrees with you that that is a line she has crossed with her boss here, and that it's okay for you to step away from the situation, call a spade, and find someone that actually respects you. You're not overreacting? Absolutely not. I think you're reacting perfectly fine, and you should follow your gut instincts. And now, on to the update. So over the last few days, I acted like everything was cool. I could probably get an Oscar for how well I pulled it off. Today was the first day back in the office with her boss since this came up. I waited until this morning before I knew she would be leaving for work to let her know that I knew exactly what she told her girls. I gave her a small piece of my mind and let her know that I had just removed and blocked her from everything, and that the second I sent the text, I'd be blocking her phone too, so not to even bother to reply, and that was the end of it. I was pretty tense to the moments leading up to it, but felt relieved when I sent the text since I didn't have to pretend that everything was okay anymore. Complete Design 5395 says, "It's giving scorched earth vibes and I like it. Sorry you're going through it, but glad you found out and are able to move on to better." And OP says, "That was 100% the intention. I knew it would F up her day big time. Do you guys live together? What's the situation there?" And OP says, "Didn't live together, thank God." Rocketman69 says, "She still knows where you live. Better couch surf for a few weeks, so that she can't find you to harass you in person." And OP says, "Nah, I live in a guard-gated community, so she can't access my neighborhood." There is a small update from the OP in the comments a couple of weeks later. Says, "Thanks for checking in. Been meaning to post an update. It's been 2 weeks since I axed her. I haven't heard a single peep. She could have texted my daughter or made a new email account if she really wanted to get a hold of me. I'm still really angry and trying to process it all. It's on my mind all day. Part of me really wants to hear what she would have said if I gave her the opportunity to say anything, but I also know there's nothing she can say to reverse the damage of what she said. Also, another piece of me wants to tell her cheating, married friend's husband what their wives do behind their back." Mitra says, "This is the kind of shit that leads people to stalking former partners. I blocked her, but she could have gotten around that block if she really cared, equals, I think it's healthy to stalk your ex and demonstrates love. F that noise." Intelligent Ad says, "I agree. It's this movie romanticization of something that is not romantic. If someone breaks up with you, you don't chase them around looking for them to beg them to love you. You don't chase them to an airport or their job or whatever. If someone says, hey, this isn't working, I would like no further communication, it is not romantic to harass them or call them, get new numbers, call from other phones, or email their children. You leave them alone." Our next post is by user aggravatingstart7703, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole for throwing my pregnant sister-in-law's groceries away? My brother and his wife Laura, who is 7 months pregnant, are staying with us for a week or so since he's interviewing for jobs in the city that my family and I are in. My kids love having their aunt and uncle around, and everything has been great. Yesterday, Laura went out and came back with groceries. I thanked her, but told her that we don't expect them to do this. The kitchen is stocked, and that we're just enjoying having them. She said that she wanted to, and that most were cravings that she's been having. I started helping her unload the bags, and noticed that a lot of the snacks were peanuts, cookies, crackers, PB, even some sort of cake fusion. It all made me uneasy because she knows that my oldest son, 8 male, is extremely allergic. I don't keep anything of the kind in our home because we've had an incident when he was younger where we almost lost him. I didn't want to be rude, but I told her that I'm not comfortable with having the stuff in the house. She told me that she would be careful, that she wouldn't eat it around him or his siblings, and that she would clean up after herself. That she was having intense cravings and needed them. Look, I've had 4 kids and kind of get where she's coming from, although I never had to have something, but every woman is different. I made sure my son knew not to touch any of it and to leave her alone when she's eating them. And that was that. Today, I woke up to make breakfast and open the fridge, only to be greeted by strawberries dipped in PB, left out without a container to chill. The PB jar wasn't sealed properly next to them, and there were sandwiches on a plate because she likes the bread cold and soggy. I was pissed. I read enough about airborne contamination to know that you can't really determine it, but I wasn't risking it. I grabbed a bag and started throwing everything in it, our groceries, hers, I didn't care. I was going to take the bag, drive to a shelter, and let them know the situation. Laura woke up while I was on my rampage, came down, and asked all upset what I was doing. I was snippy with her and didn't try to hide it. We got into an argument with her defensively saying that I can't do this, that the baby needs it, and that it's cruel to put a pregnant woman through unsatisfied cravings. I told her bluntly that I don't give a single fuck. If she can't keep her word, then I won't either, and that she'll live without her craving. My son can't say the same with his allergy. She went back upstairs, packed her bag and came down, grabbed the bag of food and left in a huff. My brother was at his interview and called me half an hour later to ask me what happened. He was upset with his wife, but also with me because nothing happened, and at the end of the day, my son is fine. I told my husband when he came back from work, and he's completely on my side. Am I the asshole? I think you're completely not the asshole here. She said she would be careful. She should understand just how deadly an allergy like this is, and how much of a risk having it contaminate other food in the fridge is when you leave so much of it out. I can understand why you wanted to give her some leeway, but when it comes to your son's life, OP, you have to have an absolutely no peanuts policy. Like, you're putting your son's life in the trust of someone else. I don't think that's an acceptable thing to do. Unless she's some big brain scientist and is going to make absolutely sure there's no contaminants on anything and be absolutely careful, you can't be trusting people like that. You open up so much room for your son to die of these allergies. So no, you're not the asshole for maintaining that boundary, but just let this be a lesson learned, I guess. Snoo Pineapple says, "You're the asshole. But let me explain why. You should have had a hard definitive no the moment you saw the groceries. The peanut products go, or your sister-in-law leaves. Nothing else is acceptable. Sister-in-law owes you a huge apology. She could have killed your child because of her cravings. My sister has a severe peanut allergy, and we grew up without peanut products and survived. I would make it known that the peanut products are never allowed in your home. Anyone who can't respect that rule isn't welcome. Ask her why she was willing to potentially kill your child. Ask her if you can put her child at risk once the baby is born. This is a common sense logical issue. I find it hard to believe that sister-in-law didn't know about that allergy. She is beyond an asshole." OP says, "I agree that I should have stuck to my house rules from the start. That was a major F-up on my part. I usually wouldn't allow anyone from my extended family to bring it in, not that they do ask. And if my younger kids are craving something, we take the necessary precautions. I guess I went easier on her because she's pregnant and it's her first, which is no excuse." Callie the Blaze says, "Not the asshole. Nothing happened and your son is fine because you made sure that that would be the case. The only thing I can possibly think that you might have done to be even more in the right was to make sure your sister-in-law knew about the severity of the allergy and that even skin contact with residue that isn't visible could be enough to set him off. But that really isn't necessary with anyone who is remotely reasonable because everyone under 40 has been taught that sort of thing about peanut allergies. You are already being exceedingly reasonable and taking risks just allowing that stuff in the house. You have been well within your rights to say that you just couldn't risk peanuts in the house at all. Let her eat it outside away from the house if she needs it that bad, as long as she thoroughly cleans down before coming back to your house. Leaving it out in the open in the fridge like that, where it could bump into other things and leave smudges on them, was entirely unreasonable in a house of someone with any degree of contact allergy, much less a deathly severe one." Back up to the post, we have a mini update. Like some people had predicted in the comments on the other sub, Laura did go straight to my family and started complaining. She hadn't twisted anything, told them the full honest story, and my mother was livid. She called me panting like she ran a marathon after she berated Laura to make sure my son is okay, so I can only imagine the riot act that she read her. Apparently, even my stepdad gave Laura one of his disapproving frowns. My brother came back in the evening to get his stuff since Laura had only packed hers for some reason. He did apologize for what she did, said that he'll have a chat with her once she's calmed down. She's been inconsolable. He told me that she's been crying since she left my mum's house and that she now feels unwelcome and unloved in our family, and he blames me for it. My husband butted in and told him that it's enough, that whatever she's feeling doesn't cover half of what we felt and that she needs to get over herself, that I've been scrubbing the house from top to bottom for hours because of her actions. I did get a bit panicky and went on to deep clean the whole house, especially the kitchen, but anyway, my brother left after he said that there is no leveling with us when we're being this stubborn. Now that I've had time to get out of the state that I was in, I do feel bad that she's distressed and feels unwelcome in our family, as that was never my goal. I've been debating sending her an apology, not for my actions, because I stand by them, but for the way that I went about it. I shouldn't have allowed this stuff in our house in the first place, and could have been calmer about it after I opened the fridge. And now, onto the update. So after my mum berated Laura, and my brother yelled at my husband and I took the advice that I was given and sent them a long text which ended up being a bit of a ramble about everything, how screwed up the situation is, how we're disgusted by their stance, and how we will be going low contact until we feel ready to be around them again. That was the day after my brother packed his bags and left. I was left on red, and I thought that was that until a few days ago when I got a call from Laura. I thought about not answering it, but curiosity got the best of me. When I picked up, Laura tried to make awkward small talk, but I think she sensed that I wasn't in the mood and got right to it. She apologized about her behavior. She said that she had no excuse other than her hormones, and we ended up having a long chat about everything. By the end of it, I actually felt better, and like we could get past it and work on our relationship. She also mentioned that she would still like for my family and I to come to her birthday dinner. It wasn't going to happen in the restaurant anymore. I guess the hotel stay ended up costing them a lot, as some of you predicted, and that it was going to be at their house instead. I told her that I'd talk with my husband and get back to her. I also got a text from my brother apologizing and saying that he was just trying to protect and stand by his wife. It was too soon to start mending things, as my husband pointed out, but he left the choice up to me, and I honestly believed her apology because she had never acted like that before, and she seemed actually ashamed of herself. Anyway, my sister, who was also apologized to because she also tore her a new one, and my parents, also got an apology, were also invited. But my sister's kids wanted a cousin sleepover instead of going with us, so after talking it over with my sister, we agreed for them to have one at my house. My babysitters of a year are my next-door neighbors. They are sweet and responsible 16-year-old twins who live with their single mom. They usually team up and tackle on my kids on date nights. There's a reason I'm mentioning this. With my sister's added 2 kids to the mix, I asked their mum if she was free to join their duo, and she agreed. So I called Laura and told her that Richard and I are coming. When we got to their house, Laura greeted my husband and I at the door. We handed her the gift and went in, but she seemed puzzled that we didn't have a trail of kids with us, so I reminded her that it's just us adults tonight. Same thing happened when my sister and her husband walked in. Dinner was awkward, no matter how we tried to lighten up the mood, and the conversation was stilted at best, but I thought that it was at least a step forward. Laura asked this time about why the kids were not with us, that she had made special food for them. I never mentioned the kids when I got back to her. Just my husband and I, but I felt like it was my fault that I didn't clarify, and so I apologized for it and thanked her for thinking of them. My sister chimed in that her kids and mine were having a cousin sleepover tonight, and how she was excited about our soon-to-be nephew to join them when he's here and older. Laura looked at her with a smile and said, "Yeah, I'm sure he'll be best friends with his cousins, as in my kids, and his step-cousins, as in my sisters." This pissed me off, because we don't use step anything with the kids, but I bit my tongue. For context, my sister is technically my stepsister. I know I used stepdad in my first post. I usually call him by his first name. I consider him a parental figure since he raised me since I was 10, but I had a dad, and the title will always be his. My sister gave her a hurt look, but it was my brother who nudged his wife with a "what are you doing" look. A few minutes went by with eating and light conversation before Laura asked again about our kids, mainly who was watching them, since all 4 parents are here. I told her that my neighbor and her daughters are babysitting, to which she laughed at and joked about how incompetent the girls and their mum must be to need all 3 of them to wrangle the kids. Also, for context, I have 4 kids. I'm biased and like to think that they're well behaved, but they're sometimes too much for one person to handle. Even me, and I'm the one that brought them into this world. Add my sister's 2 kids, and it's a lot for 2 teenage girls to handle, even for just a few hours. We left at 7 and said that we'll be back at 11. It has absolutely nothing to do with the girls whom my kids adore, or their mum, who is as kind as they come. Before I could retort anything, my mum stepped in with one of her smiles and told Laura that it's so kind of her to offer her own competence and watch the kids next time. That shut her up real fast. After that dinner was even more awkward until we cleared the table and Laura brought out desserts while my brother got the cake from the fridge. Here's where I lost the last of my remaining brain cells. I went to the bathroom, and when I came out, I saw my husband carrying my bag and trying to usher me out the front door to leave. He looked pissed, and I was beyond confused, and obviously resisted because yes, the dinner is a train wreck, but let me at least say goodbye and give a lame excuse for our departure. When my husband tried to literally carry me out, I knew something was wrong, and after a couple of tries, I darted past him back to the dining room. Laura's now ready dessert table consisted of peanut butter cake pops, peanut butter pie, peanut butter cookies, peanut butter brownies, and to top it all off, a peanut butter birthday cake that my brother brought in and was sniffing at with a horrified look. Laura then gave me a big smile and said loudly to my family, "I thought I should at least get to have my cravings on my birthday. Get your fill before she throws these out too." I honestly thought for a second that my sister was going to tackle her, and I wasn't that far behind her because all I could think about was the fact that she thought my kids were coming and she planned this accordingly. I have felt so guilty for allowing the stuff in our house the last time, and if my sister's kids hadn't wanted the sleepover, I was going to walk my son into danger for a second time. I lost my shit. Without thinking about my actions, I grabbed Laura's head, forced her towards my brother, who was, I think, too shocked to react, and slammed her head straight into the cake. I held it down as long as I could while she flailed and told her that I hope she chokes on her cravings before I let her go. I honestly wanted to go for the pie too, but I had embarrassed myself enough by acting like that in the first place, so I told my brother that I'm done with both him and his wife, and if they try to contact me or my family again, I'm filing for a protective order, and then I let my husband lead me out. My sister was cackling as she followed us with her husband, but our parents stayed back. I heard Laura screaming profanities after us, but my stepdad raised his voice, which shut her up. I got a lot of jokes about his frown on my first post, but the man is as stoic as they come. Him showing any emotion is a big deal. I remember that his frown alone growing up was enough to literally stop my sister and I in our tracks because we knew that if he gave us one that we messed up. I haven't asked my mum what happened after we left because I can't handle any more heartache from my brother or his actions. I don't think this was the update anyone wanted, least of all me, but I'm completely done with the both of them. Even though my brother looked like he had no idea, that stuff was in his house, happening under his damn roof. I'm sad that I won't be in my nephew's life, and my kids won't get to know their new cousin that they've been waiting for, but I would rather cry over that than over my son's life. I don't expect anyone to be kind in the comments. I'm 32. I shouldn't have been so naive, and I know I shouldn't have reacted like that, and I'm going to be dealing with that with my therapist, along with the guilt that I'm feeling. But please take it easy on me. I'm still shaken up. I'm also looking into family therapy for my kids so they can better process not having their uncle and aunt around after them having been a close presence in their lives. United Manor says, "Your brother will lose his family or his wife. She won't allow him to have both." Crazy Age says, "Does the woman not care about her husband's family at all? Like she already knew that her standing in the family is not good, why go and ruin it to the bitter end?" Because she's an abuser who has just successfully isolated him by alienating his family. Bingo, came here to say exactly this. It was never, not even once, about the peanut butter. This was textbook isolation, and unfortunately the brother has absolutely fallen for it. And now he has a baby imminent with this monster. Poor dumb bastard is completely screwed. When Laura invited you all for dinner at her place, I was thinking, there's no way she's gonna do it, right? There is no way she would purposefully serve nuts, right? Holy crap, this woman needs psychotic help. She either wanted harm to befall your child, or still has not learnt the consequences of her actions from last time. I wouldn't believe any more apologies from this woman or your brother. Until your brother divorces this woman, he needs to be kept away from your children just as much as she does. Slamming her face into the cake does not make you an asshole. It makes you a parent who understands that this psycho needs more extreme measures to get some sense knocked into her in order to protect your family. Key Warthog says, "Yeah, I was sitting here thinking the same thing while reading it. When I read that she was disappointed that the kids weren't there because she made them special food, I immediately thought that it was going to be PB&J sandwiches or something else like that. I probably would have dumped the entire table over rather than smashing her face into the cake, but I don't think Opie is wrong for smashing her into the cake. I'm glad that you can keep her absolutely as far away from your family as possible, that is a possibility, and I laugh in the face of your brother that he is now stuck with an absolute demon of a person like that, who is now, going to successfully isolate him from his family. And him allowing and enabling this abuse to occur without putting a stop to it? I don't know, does he deserve it? Who knows? But that's the situation that he's stuck with here. It's his house too. He should know that there's peanut butter there. At any point here, he could have stopped the peanut butter being put on the table. If he didn't know about it, when she was serving it, he could have been like, "What is wrong with you? You are insane. You're gonna drive my family away from me." Yet he didn't do any of that. He didn't step in to help you. He didn't stop her. He's complicit in the abuse. He deserves what is happening to him. I'm fully on board with that. He is as abusive as this wife is, and now he is trapped under an abuser. Good on him. I hope that he snaps back to reality. I hope he divorces her and can amicably co-parent with that child, because that is a terrible relationship from the outside in. Not the arsehole OP, thank you for sharing your story with us. I hope all goes well in the future. But what did you guys think of this one? Let me know down below in the comments. Our next story is by user FaithlessnessGold226, and it's titled, "Someone sent an old recording of me saying a racial slur to HR. How do I defend myself?" So I work full-time for a popular clothing brand. For context, I've been here for 4 months, get along with everyone, and hang out with them outside of work, and meet my deadlines. Over the last few weeks, I had a falling out with an ex-friend, and they shared an audio recording of me saying a racial slur with my company's HR department. This recording is about 2 years old, and I said that slur out of anger while playing a video game. Side notes, but I'd like to skip the lecture of me saying this slur. I've recognized how bad it is to say, and stopped using that word around the same time that I said it in the recording. At this point, I'm just waiting to hear something from my manager or HR this week. Do companies just fire employees without getting their side of the story? If they ask for my story, do I admit it? I'm even considering getting personal and saying that it's a friend trying to ruin my career, and potentially lying, saying that they're using AI to generate the audio. Is that too much? Spirit of Defeat says, "What kind of friend holds on to blackmail material for years? I'd really question if they were a true friend who had your best interest at heart at any point in time. Maybe that's why they were falling out in the first place. Maybe they seem like they could be manipulative, and OP could be skeptical if they try to apologize and be friends again. How do they know it's really you? Deny it. Say something like, 'That's disgusting, but that's not me. This has nothing to do with me. That guy told me that he doesn't like me and wants me to be fired.' Lying isn't the most ethical thing, but you're trying to keep your job, grow as a person, and move on from what we hope was an unfortunate aberration. Therefore, the greater good will be served if you just deny it and make it clear that the guy has a problem with you." And now, onto the update. In short, if anyone has a similar problem, get along with your team and deny everything. Even better, don't say anything offensive to begin with. HR scheduled a last-second meeting with me and my manager today. When I joined, HR told me that they had an ongoing investigation concerning me being racially offensive. HR showed me the evidence, which was actually multiple recordings from around the same time frame, and let me watch them. They then started citing company policy, saying this behavior doesn't align with the company values, and that there is zero tolerance for it in or outside of work. Once they let me speak, I told HR that was an ex-friend attempting to get me fired, that I never said those words, that it's likely AI synthesized. HR gave me a weird look, but they ended off the meeting and told me that there'd be a follow-up meeting later. I ended up getting called into a second meeting at the end of the day. HR told me that they concluded the investigation and that there would be no action taken against my employment, but that I do have to take sensitivity training due to my company policy. After that, I talked to a coworker outside of work, and he told me that HR reached out to everyone on the team individually to ask if I have said anything offensive during work hours. I haven't, and everyone on my team said so. Same coworker also told me that HR was probably ready to fire me since they scheduled the meetings last second, which never happens. Shoeless Bo Jackson says, "OP, congratulations on handling this situation to your favor. I agree with your assessment. You denied everything, were well liked by team members, and the manager went to bat saying they denied it. My team and myself are happy with their performance and conduct. They get a yelling, not a firing. Of course, your manager probably can't tell you that. By the way, lying and being a bit of a weasel are rewarded traits in the corporate world. Turnabout is fair play. Western Inflation says, I'm quickly discovering that sometimes in the corporate world, you have to be a manipulative little shit to get your way. Hell, sometimes I have to be a manipulative little shit to get anything done. So you lied, and your takeaway is, lying is the best thing to do? OP says, in this situation, yes, since admitting to it would have gotten me fired. The more obvious takeaway is to never say any racial slurs to begin with. Anyone else find it interesting how it went from one slip-up due to anger to multiple recordings? Lamau, I hope your company finds this post and fires your simple ass. And OP says, yes, he sent multiple recordings of me saying it on the same game, but he only made me aware of one. I never said that slip-up was a one and done, but I did say that I recognized how bad this slur was to say, and that I stopped using it at around the same time. I know the kind of person I am now, and it's not the person in those recordings. I don't need someone forcing the idea that I'm still the same person from 2 years ago so that they can justify ruining my career. So, are you like 15 now? Why do you keep saying it was like 2 years ago, like that was a long time? Autos Agent replies, the fact that this guy was a bigot 2 years ago and acts like that was a long time ago is wild. And he magically stopped using slurs exactly 2 years ago after multiple recordings of him were made? I'm sure he's a totally different person now. What? He lied about it at work and is bragging about it on the internet? Bastion of morality, this guy. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.